started as a humble mathematician and ended as the most hated man in Russia. He built an empire on the ruins of a fallen superpower, made and unmade presidents, controlled half the Russian economy, and bragged about it on live TV. He survived assassinations, bought his own army of bodyguards. But then, the monster he helped create, Vladimir Putin, turned on him. Was he the greatest puppet master of modern Russia? Or just another pawn in a much bigger game? In the 1980s, he was just a brilliant mathematician, but his ambitions were far bigger than academia. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Berezovsky saw his chance. While others mourned the end of an era, he built an empire. He founded Logobaz and seized control of Russia's chaotic car market, turning Lotus into gold. But in the lawless wilds of post-Soviet Russia, business sense wasn't enough. You needed protection. Berezovsky made a choice. He struck dangerous alliances with Chechen warlords and Russia's most violent crime syndicates. His protection came at a price, but it made him untouchable. Until one day, they tried to kill him. A car bomb ripped through his Mercedes on the streets of Moscow. He survived, barely, but the message was clear. No one was ever truly safe. And that's when he turned to his most powerful weapon, television. He took control of ORT, Russia's biggest media empire, now known as Channel One. In Russia, information isn't just power, it is survival. By the mid-1990s, Russia was on the brink of collapse. Inflation had destroyed life savings, factories stood idle, and President Boris Yeltsin's approval rating had fallen to single digits. But behind the scenes, Boris Berezovsky was already working on his next masterpiece, Yeltsin's re-election. He rallied the oligarchs, took full control of Russia's media narrative, and turned a failed presidency into an improbable victory. Democracy? That was just another tool. Through this power network, known simply as the family, Berezovsky stood at the center of it all, and with Yeltsin in his pocket, he moved on to the greatest fire sale in modern history, the privatization of Russia's national wealth. It was called loans for shares, a scheme so corrupt it shocked even the IMF. The crown jewels of the Russian economy, oil, metals, and natural resources, were sold for pennies on the dollar, to men like Berezovsky himself. Privatization in Russia goes through 3 stages, Berezovsky boasted. The first stage is the privatization of profits. The second is the privatization of property. The third is the privatization of debts. In the end, just 7 bankers controlled half the Russian economy. And Berezovsky, he controlled the bankers. By the late 1990s, Berezovsky believed he could shape Russia's future the same way he shaped its past, by choosing the next president himself. He found the perfect candidate, a quiet, little-known former KGB officer named Vladimir Putin. A man he believed would be obedient, controllable. But instead of a puppet, Putin became a predator. One by one, Putin dismantled the oligarchs' power. Some fled, some went to prison. And Russia's new czar was no longer in the shadows. Berezovsky was forced into exile. His empire in ruins, his influence gone. And the man he helped create now ruled the Kremlin with an iron fist. In exile, Berezovsky wasn't done searching for power or for a new way to move his money. And he found it in the world's most passionate sport, football. Through his close associate, Kia Jorobchian, he created Media Sports Investments, MSI, officially a football investment group. In reality is something far more complex. Behind the scenes, millions flowed through offshore companies and undisclosed contracts. Fans dreamed of glory. But Berezovsky played a different game, one of financial power and money laundering. And like everything he touched, it ended in scandal and collapse. For Berezovsky, even football was just another tool of power. And as always, it became a story of betrayal, broken dreams, and unfinished business. By 2012, Berezovsky had lost everything. His wealth, his influence, his friends. Alone in exile, the architect of modern Russia watched it slip away, piece by piece. That year, he filed for bankruptcy, once a billionaire, now penniless. And then, in March 2013, it ended. Berezovsky was found dead in his bathroom, a noose around his neck. The official cause, suicide. But even now, whispers remain. Was it truly his choice, or the long, patient reach of the Kremlin? Berezovsky's story isn't just about power and money. It's about the fatal mistake of believing you can control the system, and forgetting that, in the end, the system always controls you. If you want more untold stories of the men who tried to rule the world and failed, subscribe to the channel and join us for the next journey behind the scenes of power,